We are going to give a facelift to this French cabinet today. I used a dark blue chalk paint mixed with sawdust as a base color. To start with, I am going to use Annie Sloan's Chalk Paint, Florence, Svenska blue and Aubusson blue, some of the Arles and the old white diluted with water. I will use the window cleaner as my main tool today and my mist bottle. Keep watching to see how much fun we will have today with this project. And do not forget to subscribe if you haven't done so yet. I am dipping a large brush into the Florence and Svenska blue chalk paint and brushing it over the surface. Then, after slightly spraying it with water, I am spreading the paint over with the rubber window cleaner. I want the edges to be darker and painting them with the Aubusson blue paint. Without letting the paint dry, I am repeating the process, adding the Aubusson blue to the mixture. I keep wiping the tool to control how much paint I want to leave on the surface. Then I am adding some of the Arles chalk paint to the corners and to the crevices and spreading it over with my tool. Some of the old white chalk paint diluted with water next. This is a custom mixed brown paint. Normally, I would use Annie Sloan's Fleur, but I ran out of it and made my own. If you are interested, see the recipe in the description below. I am applying it only to the bottom to make it darker and spreading it thinner to the middle. Without letting the surface dry, I am adding a few more layers, adding some Aubusson blue to the bottom, and really playing with the paint until I am happy with the result. Here I am using the ordinary cleaning sponge to blend the paint and to get rid of the sharp edges. Normally, you see me using a sea sponge, but it is not that necessary. I wanted to show you here that any sponge would do. After I finished playing with my paint, I let the cabinet sides completely dry, and it is time to apply a clear wax, and of course a brown wax. Normally, I am applying the dark wax only to the corners and the edges, and I am using a narrow, quite hard art brush for it. But then I am taking a cheap makeup brush and smoothing the edges of the wax. Also, finishing with a lint-free rag to get rid of the excesses and to spread the wax even thinner. When I said I let the piece dry, I meant completely dry, for probably 24 hours. You saw how much paint and water I used. And here, the sides of the cabinet are finished. For the front, I am using the same colors, but a different technique as there are curves and the details to consider. I am using my sponge to blend the paint, which I have already used on the sides. After I have applied the whitewash, I am taking the excesses of the paint off with the sponge. I applied a couple of coats of my layers, and when all paint is well dry, I am applying the clear wax. And I forgot to mention that I have also sanded the surface and the brown wax to the corners and crevices. This mold in the middle of the door I made of epoxy resin and glued it. The clear wax is always helping to get rid of the excesses of the darker waxes, but I am sure you know by now that it works only when you have applied the clear wax first. Here I am showing a tiny bit of what I've done. I did this way each curve and the detail of the piece. Then, with my art brush, I am ever so slightly dry brushing the surface with the brown wax. It catches the high points. Remember, I added a texture medium into my base paint. It created the high and the low points, and it helps me to create the shades. At the top, I have painted with a dark blue paint without a texture medium. Now I am going to use the leftovers of the paint. I am spraying it with water just to get it a bit loose. When it is completely dry, I am applying a thick coat of the old white chalk paint. And while it is still wet, I am sprinkling some salt over the top. Salt will help me to create a chippy, distressed look. Again, I left it overnight to dry and then sanded, exposing the paint underneath. After applying a clear wax, I have covered the top with the brown wax and rubbed it in. I have applied some more, rubbing it in, and next day I have slightly sanded the top as I wanted it to be lighter. And it is done. Just to remind you how the cabinet was before. And here it is now. You can see that all the colors I have applied are showing through. I also slightly touched some of the details with the antique gilding wax. Thank you for stopping by. I am looking forward to show you more fun projects.